Shabbat Shalom, welcome back. It's summertime, as you can tell. I'm in summer garb, and services are a little bit different, but nevertheless, we're still connected to you, and we're hoping that you're enjoying the summer weather safely, of course. Today, I want to address three different ideas. They're completely separate, and some of them are related to the reading of the week, inspired by the words of the Torah and Haftorah. So first I want to begin with where we're at. And as you know, we are making plans for high holidays to be virtual. And as you've seen for the last many weeks, we are able to deliver a meaningful connection in as much as this is connected. And I hope you know that I see you all with me here. Thank you for the photos. It really makes a difference. And for high holidays especially, it's going to be very hard for us to adjust to the reality of not being together, because that was the time of year where we would all be together. And that's a lot of us that will not be able to connect. I will miss that energy. I'll miss the connectedness. It's important that we find an alternative for this year. Hopefully, subsequently, we get back to normal. But speaking of normal, for all the issues we have with masks and school and the challenges, we are in a relatively good position. Let's keep doing our part, being safe, separating, and frankly, not going to shul or big gatherings is the best way to avoid issues and concerns. I just urge you to take a look at the state of California. 40 million people, that's more than the population of Canada. They hit their 500,000th case, and they've had almost 10,000 deaths. Although, think about New York with 32,000. There's a lot of difference between where we're at and where they're at. Canada's a much bigger country. We're spread out. Major population centers are large, but relatively smaller in terms of the amount of people living closer together. We're lucky in many ways, and we're safer in many ways, and I hope truly it continues, and the efforts that are being made every day for us, whether we agree with them or we don't, the reality is people are trying, and they might be entirely wrong, but we have to do what is entirely right for us. Each of us knows that there's a certain level of protocol and safety, and that is why we are unable to fully reopen anytime soon, because there is no magic fix yet for the issues of proximity. Bottom line, to be close together is the problem. For us to be close together is what we really crave and what we really want. So here's what I'm going to say. Thank you to all of you who have renewed your membership. Thank you for all who believe in us and believe in what we're able to deliver for you. And thank you for all of you who are part of our community and want to continue building this community together with me. We're building it as a community. We're saying to each other, I believe one day we will be together. I need a shul for more than just the building. I need a community that teaches, that engages, that supports. I do a lot of conversation and support, and let me tell you, I am happy to speak to anyone at any time about any issue or anything. But the way we've come together over the summer with the various tragedies and challenges we've had, the losses to our congregation, we are a family. For better or for worse, we're doing what we can to try to help you and us. Again, we have our Dignity Fund. We don't want anyone to feel that they can't rejoin a shul financially. We've had requests. We've dealt with every one of them confidentially, quickly, and with dignity. We would do the same for you. And to those of you who, of your own free will and accord, provided funding for that Dignity Fund, this is a historic moment in which your charity, your tzedakah, your justice literally makes a difference, not just on the ability to attend level, but on the ability to feel that life has not ended for many of our members as they knew it by being unable to participate in shul. So thank you. May your family and you be blessed with health and wealth and goodness. To all of you, we want you back. Please continue to call the office, email, renew. Let us know you're coming back. It means the world to us. So There's a lot going on in the world beyond COVID. Some of it perhaps exacerbated by COVID, by the roiling of our emotions and our insecurities and the political theater. But there's something that is not changed here. And the time we're in is post Tisha B'Av, after the 9th of Av, to the high holidays, the 7 weeks in which I looked at the moon last night and I'm watching the moon. When that moon turns full, I will then have one more cycle, and it's Rosh Hashanah. And I cannot believe that today is the 1st of August and the time has flown. But during this time, we're reminded of what has not changed. The first thing that has not changed is that the Jewish people still need comfort. No matter how far we get from the Holocaust, no matter how far we are from the tragedies of yore, from the destruction of the temple by the Babylonians, the desecration by the Romans, the scattering of Jewish life throughout the world, the pogroms of history, the bloodbaths, the murders, all that stuff that is in the past, we still need comfort. We still live with a high trigger of anxiety for hate. We're very sensitive, as we should be. And we're sensitive also to the fact that we live in times where we have relatively good lives, but tragedy strikes even the unsuspecting, and there's a lot of personal comfort that is required. People whose lives have dissipated, shattered, broken, changed overnight because of the circumstance or because of a family circumstance. And our heart goes out to everyone, and the words of our prophet Isaiah. Nachamu, nachamu ami. Comfort, yes, comfort my people. Jerusalem, he says, has received double for all her sins. It's been punished twice. It's not only lost its people, it's been destroyed, but the loss of the people is the great destruction for Jerusalem. Because when there are people present, we can rebuild. When nobody's present, it lays in ruins. So during this time of comfort, we say to ourselves, not only are we dealing with the various destructions in life, but we also are incapable of getting out there and rebuilding. We cannot show up en masse as a sign of solidarity for our community. We can't do that anymore. We can't go over and visit the people who are suffering. I can't go to the hospital to visit the sick. I can't go to a shiva. You can't go to a funeral. You just want to say comfort. I want to comfort you. What kind of comfort can you bring? What can you say? You don't have to say anything. Your presence speaks volumes. We can't do that. But during this time of comfort, we come across the prophet saying, Nachamu, Nachamu ami, comfort, comfort my people, because we've been doubly punished. Not only is there tragedy and illness and hopelessness, but we are unable to physically be present. So during these weeks as we lead up to the high holidays, it's a good and stark reminder for us of what we have to do. We have to turn inward and find ways to engage beyond the obvious barriers to comfort. I find the words of Isaiah extremely powerful because he does not pretend to have the answer, but rather he just offers the warmth and comfort beyond the understanding. Because my friends, I have to tell you this, it is something I have to deal with every week and all the time, and something that is painful, and it breaks my heart every time I have to speak these words. And here they are. Know your pain and your suffering, and your loved one's pain and suffering, and the illnesses that you bear, and the sadness you feel, and the tragedy that has befallen you is not fair. It is not. No, it's not fair. And it's easy to say life's not fair until it's your life that's not fair. But that's why we don't say, Nachamu, Nachamu, comfort my people because you deserved it. We don't say comfort my people because it's just. We don't say comfort my people because there's cosmic justice. We don't say comfort my people because somewhere it makes sense. We just say, all I can say is comfort. I'm comforting you because that's what I'm doing. not because I'm taking away the unfairness. The prophet says, listen. One says, shout. And he says, what should I shout? Shout that mankind is grass and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. It's beautiful. And the voice answers, the grass, it withers. The flower fades beneath God's breath. People are like grass. The grass withers, the flowers fade. God's word stands forever. But the prophet doesn't say that. The prophet says there's good news out there. Look for the good. Don't think only about the bad. We are like grass. We are in the field. The field is beautiful. It's full of flowers. Let's not think about winter. Let's think about today. Comfort, comfort my people. Unequivocal, no justice, unfair, unresolved, but still comfort. I'm speaking to you now from Lawrence and Dufferin. At Lawrence and Dufferin, I'm talking to you about comfort and about things during these times, about comforting loved ones. I'm speaking to you about things that haven't changed and things that have. And I want to tell you something that is chilling, because at Eglinton and Dufferin on a construction site last week, a noose was found. Another noose was found. And the symbol of the noose, it should be very clear to anyone who studied history. It's an effort to suggest that lynching, or the hanging of others, especially in this case black people, which was practiced in the US and Canada, is okay. It's a form of hate. It's a symbol of hate. No different than if we saw a swastika, that we would identify that as a symbol of hate. A noose hanging at a construction site serves only one purpose, and that is hate. And that happened just down the road that way, right there. And it chills me. It chills me to know that there are people who actively not only think that way, but act that way. And this is why we are on alert all the time for hate, because it's not about the way they think that bothers us most. We know people don't like each other. We know people will look for all kinds of reasons to separate, divide, and hate. We know that. That might be just human nature, and that's the life's work we have to change that. But we can't accept is that somebody goes out and acts on their belief. I always say belief is private, behavior is public. Well, I have to say, I commend the Carpenters Union, I commend the police, I commend Metrolinx, and all the organizations that took swift action and removed that individual from employment. But it happened down the block this week in our city. And it was the third or fourth time it's happened. And for that, my friends, again, we look towards the prophet and we say, is there comfort? What about our fears? What about our daily anxieties? Well, in this period between Rosh Hashanah, between 9th day of Av and Rosh Hashanah, we're given an opportunity to reflect on all of this: destruction, loss, anxiety, the hair trigger of hate that we feel and we're so sensitive to, and the roiling of our times, in which clearly race is one of the most powerful issues of the moment, fueled entirely and significantly by the political will or the lack of it, by the couching of hatred within altruism, No side in this conversation is blameless. On the other hand, though, we as individuals have to stand up for what we believe. And this period of time of comfort also comes with action. Now, having said that, I am uniquely positioned to tell you something about Judaism. And the reason I'm uniquely positioned to tell you that is because I was raised ultra-Orthodox. And I do understand the mindset that builds that community. And while I have critique of that community, we as a community, a conservative world, sure, it's easy to criticize our people. It's easy to criticize Reform. It's easy to criticize Renewal, Reconstructionists, Ultra-Orthodox Chabad. It's easy to criticize everybody. But when you ask the question, where does that come from? Where does the right to criticize or the desire or need to criticize others and their behavior and their values and their supposed hypocrisies? We're all busy exposing each other's hypocrisies. Where does that come from? And in this week's portion, as I mentioned, it has the most powerful words that are spoken in terms of the response, just like comfort my people, the response to human nature with regards to criticism of others. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, and you shall love. Love is a choice, but we shall love. We should find a way to love. But we often don't. And I think I have a source for why not. And most powerfully, I have Moses' response to those who believe that because they think they are right, they have the right to beat up on others. You ready? This is unique. Because being raised ultra-Orthodox, you know that there's a certain element who believes that not only are they right, which is their prerogative, but everyone else is entirely wrong. And I do not believe that. I'm not an advocate of I'm right, therefore you have to be wrong. I think we're both right. But listen to this source material from this week's portion. This is chapter 6, verse 10. And it will be, when God brings you to the land that was sworn to your ancestors to give to them, large cities and good cities that you did not build, and houses full of all good things that you did not fill, and water wells and cisterns dug for you that you did not dig, vineyards and olive groves that you did not plant, and you will eat and you will be satisfied. Be careful. Hishamer lecha. Be careful. Pen tishkach et Adonai. Maybe you will start to forget that you were taken out by the grace of God from the land of Egypt, from the house of slavery. Don't forget, you did not build this. You did not create it. You did not dig it. You did not fill it. You did not plant it. You get to enjoy it. Now, here's what I need to say. The 9 days that precede Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, are 9 days in which we lament the fact that the temple was destroyed, as the rabbis tell us, because of baseless hatred, because of sinat chinam. But who was the sinat chinam for? It wasn't from the Jews to the Romans. It was from one Jew to another. And there are many texts of one Jew hating another and how that led eventually to a political destruction and a physical destruction. We live in a time and an era when it has never been easier to practice Judaism. We live in a country and countries in which we have incredibly free rights. We have the rights to practice our religion like no other time in history. I was thinking about that a lot, about what it's like to be a Jew in this time, and how lucky we are, and how fortunate. And then I meet people who use the freedom that was hard won by the entire Jewish community, by Jews of every stripe, conviction, denomination, and even religion. And people who spent lives fighting for civil and religious rights that were not Jewish or were not religious. And they built on this platform, and they built and they built and they built until we get to enjoy what we have now. These grand cities of hope, these houses full of opportunity, these cisterns with the water of Torah that they can drink freely, with vineyards and olive groves of thought and action that is unfettered. And what do? They forget that they too were slaves in Egypt. They forget that this was a gift and they don't own it. And here you have people within our own community who would like to let you know that although they are riding on the backs of their ancestors, they have inherited the wealth of their family without lifting a finger. They have done nothing to advance civil or legal rights for the downtrodden, but only for themselves. And yet they want you to know it all belongs to them. It's all theirs. And by not being religious enough, you are not entitled to it. And then you'll say, but are you? And they'll say, me? Of course. It's my inheritance. We'll say, no. You didn't earn it. You didn't build it. You didn't make it. You're standing on the shoulders of giants. And they say, no, we're not. We're the giants. Now, maybe this is a little bit esoteric, but I want to tell you that any time you come across religious hatred, you are talking to people who have not built it, not made it, but yet want to own it, and then exclude you. And this text in the Torah is Moses' greatest way of telling people, don't get complacent. You too are from the house of slaves. Now, what am I saying? Am I telling you that I think Jewish people should feel that they were slaves and therefore empathize with black slavery and reparations and racism? Of course we should. That's our story. Read the narrative. Hundreds of times it tells us you too were slaves in Egypt. But more than that, it's telling you you don't own the narrative. You don't own any of it. It's not yours to own. It was gifted to you. You don't get to decide who can take the gift and who can share the gift. Enjoy your part and leave us alone to wallow in our own false or true narrative. This is a warning about what hatred really is. Because I believe that those communities that like to divide and conquer, they segregate the truth and those who are believers, and they say that everyone else is either false or merely waiting to become a believer. Those communities, they are the ones who have declared us untrue, and they have no right to do so. And when we speak to the words of Isaiah, comfort, comfort my people, we also say, comfort is not a commodity. Truth is not a commodity. Love is not a commodity. You don't own it. You don't get to tell me what God wants. You don't get to tell me how God wants it. You get to tell me only one thing. V'ahavta. Learn to love. You want to own the truth? Why don't you own all the truths? The truth of comfort, the truth of love, the truth of compassion, You can't just own the truth that excludes everyone else. For every Jew you've made whole with your truth, you've made thousands untrue. And that is one of the sins that destroyed the temple. At this time, we're rebuilding. We are moving towards a time in which we see the best in each other. And don't make the mistake of taking every Orthodox Jew you know and putting them in this box. There's a huge, deep understanding within Orthodoxy that they've made choices, and so have we. And many of them understand that with compassion that we are doing what we believe is right, and they don't harbor any hate in their hearts. But there are those who, like everywhere, who exploit everything, and you are the ones I'm speaking to. Don't declare me or us untrue so you have a monopoly on the truth. And don't take your monopoly and offer it back to us for michram ba'kesef tzaddik, selling righteousness for money. Let's move towards the high holidays, away from nachamu, away from needing comfort, to v'ahavta, you shall love. Shabbat shalom. Let's stay in love, and we'll see you next week, I hope.